How many of you have a business? Should be just about everybody for this presentation, because Google AdWords is not a free service. Almost everything Google offers is free except AdWords. 97% of Google's revenue comes from what? AdWords. Gmail, the Google search engine, YouTube, Chrome, the Android operating system, it's all free. Google Maps, services that you use each and every day are all free because of the AdWords franchise. It's a $10 billion company almost every quarter from AdWords. So if you're wondering about the viability of AdWords for small business, medium business, large business, already been proven over many, many years. This is a very proven business model for Google, but also for businesses. There's no secret about AdWords anymore. But at the small business level, there are still a lot of people that don't understand AdWords. AdWords is a fairly complex vehicle. Jeff?
I'm sure you may cover this, but two things I always wonder about is, being in real estate, I get a zillion calls a week saying, you know, put you on the page of Google, and Chrome, and you name it. And I have a company I've done with, they have a couple of phrases they work with. I get calls right left promising the world with SEO. And the thing I always wonder about is, using AdWords, how can I compete with even like Call Banker, my parent company, that spends, you know, lots of dollars on this stuff, as opposed to me, where I don't have any confidence.
Right, okay. So there's...
Do I do it myself with AdWords, or do I need to have somebody else, you know, kind of help me use this?
Okay, so there are a few different statements being made there. One is that Jeff is a realtor. He regularly gets called from agencies saying, work with us, we'll get you on the front page of Google. By getting you on the front page of Google, of course, you're going to get so much more business. Everybody wants to be on page one. Well, the reality is that if you're not on page one, you pretty much are lost. How many of you use Google as your primary search engine? And how many of you, when you do a Google search, you actually look at page 3? Page 2? Some of you look at page 2, sometimes page 3 even. Page 4? Really, you go that far? Yeah. Okay, so you're unusual because that number is steadily going down. Most people are now just looking at page 1, that's it. After page 1, they don't look anymore. They'll use something else. They'll use YouTube, they'll use Yahoo, they'll use Facebook, they'll use some other way to search for information rather than go on to page 2, page 3, page 4. So it's true what those places say in that by getting on page 1, you're going to get more business, because if you're on page 2 or 3, you might not even get found.
You're going to be on the ad section as opposed to the organic. That's something I'm kind of confused about, you know.
Well, there's two different things happening in that the agencies that talk to you are generally trying to get you on page 1 organically. And I will cover this, the difference between organic and paid search. So we'll cover that. But another question that was brought up, and I'd be happy to address that too, is how could we possibly compete against larger companies that are essentially advertising the same thing we are with AdWords? And I will cover that for you too. And it won't really be the answer that you like, probably, but it is an answer, and it will be a truthful answer. So everything I tell you will be as clear-cut and straightforward and plain as possible, so that you can really get the most out of the time we have together. So let me show you what the agenda is. So we're going to cover what is Google's ad network, what's the difference between different vehicles that Google offers, such as the display network, AdSense, AdWords. I don't have Express on here, but if you have questions about Google Express, we can talk about that also. Why would you use Google's ad network versus other forms of advertising? A lot of small businesses use Yelp. Small businesses are using Facebook more and more for ads. Not so much LinkedIn. The use of LinkedIn ads fairly minimal still, and Twitter ads still fairly minimal, although Twitter is aggressively starting to grow their ad program and really targeting small businesses. I just received an email today about a Twitter for Business ads webinar coming up in a couple of weeks. I've signed up for it because I've only dabbled with Twitter ads and would like to learn more about it. So we'll talk about differences between other types of online advertising and Google AdWords. Okay, and then after that, we're going to talk about how does it work. So if you understand what it is and how it's positioned against other types of advertising, so how do we use it? how would you actually use Google AdWords? So we'll talk about that, and then I'll share with you a couple pages of best practices, because there are two types of people that use AdWords. The people that have no idea what they're doing, and they use it, and they spend a fair amount of money with it, and they think the whole thing is just a money pit. It's just a big scam, and Google is just taking advantage of me. Well, yes, if you're ignorant and you try it, they are making money off of you, and you're not making money off of them, so to speak. But it's not their fault, because the education is there. If you understand how to use AdWords, then you can use it effectively for your business, and thousands and millions of businesses do. So why not be in the know, understand how to use AdWords so that you could use it effectively and bring new leads to your business. So I'll share with you all the best practices that you could apply to your use of Google AdWords, and then I'll share with you how you can work directly with Google to get a little bit of a boost. Google will actually work directly with you to build your first campaign for you using all the tips and tricks that they know because they built it. And I'll share with you how you can get that done through using a Google Engage partner like me. Not telling you you have to, I'm just offering that out to you at the end of the seminar, that if you would like to have professional help, that you can work with an agency like mine and work directly with Google. And otherwise, very difficult to work directly with Google as a small business. If you're a large advertiser, of course, Google is willing to work with you. But as a small business, you need to go through an agency. Okay, so I'll share with you how to do that at the end. So first off, understand the power of Google's network. This is the reality that with Google's ad network, you can reach 8 out of 10 people on the internet. 8 out of 10. So almost every single person on the internet you can reach through Google. Pretty astounding. No one else can say that. No one else can say that they have the reach to people on the internet that Google can. And that's because of all those services that I told you about. Gmail, Google Maps. They have so many different ways to reach people through YouTube. For example, just YouTube alone. They bought YouTube for billions of dollars years ago. At that time, it seemed extremely expensive. It seemed like a really big amount of money to buy YouTube at that time. In the month of March, YouTube had 1 billion unique visitors. 1 billion unique visitors. Unique means not duplicated. There are about 2 billion people on the internet. So if that's the case, about 1 out of every 2 people on the internet watched a YouTube video in March. How many of you watch YouTube videos? Most of you. Most of you. More than 1 out of 2 of you watch YouTube videos. This includes everyone on the internet. So YouTube has incredible reach. So you don't have to be worried that you can't reach people using Google. That you don't have to be concerned about. There's no doubt you can reach people. It's how do you do it though? So we'll talk about that. But let's understand what is Google's ad network. So here are a couple of examples of what Google's ad network is. And for the sake of this presentation, we're going to whittle it down to 2. We're really going to whittle it down to 2 because there are ads in Gmail. If you use Gmail, there are ads there that are presented to you. There are ads on YouTube. So there are many places where there are ads. But for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to focus on 2, and then we're going to just get it down to 1. So on the left side of the screen, you see an example of a web page. That web page is from the New York Times, and there's an ad right on that web page. This company is called Bonobos, and Bonobos makes men's clothing. So that's what's called a display ad. It's called a display ad. You might think of it as a banner ad. Some people would call that a banner ad, but Google calls it a display ad. It's a display because it has a visual in it. There's a visual in the ad. Over on the right, these are text-based ads. These ads are through their search network. So Google has a display ad network and a search network. Search comes to you when you go to the Google search engine and type in a search. These ads are then presented to you. Display doesn't come from a search, it comes from you going to a website and seeing ads on the website that you visit. Here, these ads are also searching for you, but you're looking for them. You put in a keyword. So for example, on this one here, put in public speaking coach San Francisco, and then you see an ad here, an ad here, an ad here. These ads are on top. They're on top of the search. Right? When you do a Google search, you're going to see that yellow box. The reason it's a yellow box is because Google wants to set off the ads so that you're not fooled into thinking these are legitimate search engine results. These aren't legitimate in the sense that they're not organic. They're ads. They're sponsored. And it says up here, why these ads? So right there it's telling you ads. It says ads related to Public Speaking Coach. So they're telling you they're ads. They're not trying to trick you. Some people feel tricked. But Google's not actually trying to trick you at all. They're trying to set them off so that you know. So above your search results are 3 ads, and then along the right side are another column of ads. Okay? Those are where the ads are presented. Sometimes you'll see ads in the middle of the page because of Google Places, which is now called Google Plus Local. Within Google Plus Local, you might see sponsored listings. So there are other ways to get ads into the main results on the page, but primarily you see ads above and to the right. Okay, everybody clear about that? So if I put in Public Speaking Coach San Francisco, there are companies that want to offer public speaking coaching. And they want to reach people who are looking for public speaking coaches. So they figure, why not pay to get right in front of them when they're looking for that? Why not pay? Because our website is on page 2, or it's on page 3, or page 4, or page 24. And with our website on page 24, no one will ever find us. So what is the point of us being on the internet if no one will ever find us? Because no one goes to page 24. But there are actually thousands of pages. If you kept going, you'd probably go to page 2400 or page 24,000. I mean, when you do searches, sometimes you'll say 1.8 million results found. If there are 10 to 15 on a page, I mean, you can imagine how far you could spend. You could spend the rest of the year looking at results for a single keyword phrase, potentially. So that's how crazy difficult it is to get found on the internet. And this is why businesses decide that they'll use Google AdWords to get onto the page that they really want to be on, which is page 1. But what's the difference between some of these different words? So I explained to you the difference between AdWords and display ads. So I hope everybody's clear now the difference between AdWords and display ads. But have you heard the term AdSense? AdSense is a little bit different. If I have a website that gets lots of traffic every month, I get thousands of visitors to my website every month, well, I might want to make money off of that website. What I can do is partner with Google and start having Google ads appear on my website, and every time someone clicks on that ad, I get a little commission. So it's AdSense. I get a few cents every time someone clicks on my ad. That's AdSense. That's not what this presentation is about. But if you have a website that gets thousands of hits a month, you might like to use AdSense on your website so that your website could start making you money. And what Google will do is they'll try and get ads on your website that match your content. They don't want to have completely irrelevant ads on your website because that wouldn't make a lot of sense. So they try to make sense with the ads that they put on your website, and they try to put sense in your pocket by getting clicks. Because some people, they don't make money off their websites any other way than through Google's AdSense network. That's their primary means of monetizing their blogs, is through that. Okay? And then there's AdWords Express. Have any of you tried AdWords Express? I thought you were going to raise your hand, but no. All right. AdWords Express is Google's shortcut to AdWords. It's their quick way of using AdWords. It's a very bare bones way of using Google AdWords to advertise. They have very few variables that you can control. You can't control hours of the day when the ad shows. You can't necessarily control the geography. You might not be able to put in things like negative keywords. You don't have nearly as much control over AdWords Express as you do with ads that you set up with AdWords. I don't like AdWords Express. I think that is a terrible way to use AdWords. But for some people, they feel like, well, this is all I understand, so I'm going to use this. So it might still work for you, but once you understand AdWords, you're likely to never go back to AdWords Express. So then, why would you use Google's ad network versus other types of display ads or other types of advertising? Well, for one thing, when people go to Google and they're looking for information, they're in information retrieval mode. If I'm looking for a Fender guitar, I'm probably considering buying one or maybe renting one. So in that instant, I'm attractive to anybody who's selling guitars or renting guitars because I am actively looking for information. That's the #1 reason why people use Google Ads over any other form of advertising, because they feel that when people are looking for it, I want to be there. It's really the old Yellow Pages model, isn't it? That was the whole idea behind being in the Yellow Pages, that when people are looking, I want to be there. It's the exact same concept, just taken online, which is where most people search for information now. They don't use the Yellow Pages very much anymore. I'm not saying no one uses the Yellow Pages ever. What I'm saying is most people don't use it anymore. They use the internet. And when they use the internet, they use Google. So this is the reason why this type of ad vehicle is very attractive and works. The reason why it works is because people are looking, and when they're looking, they're clicking. They're actively clicking. They're looking for matches. They want to find what they're looking for, and they want to do it as quickly as possible. They don't want to spend hours unless they're just that type of person. Maybe they do want to spend hours, but most people only want to spend minutes looking for what they need to find. With AdWords, you could spend $5 a day or $5,000 a day or $50,000 a day, depending on the size of your company. If you want to just get started and you have a small company, you can potentially spend just a few dollars a day. It really depends on what you're advertising and who you're up against. So now's the time to answer the question about, what if I am advertising something that larger companies are advertising? How could I possibly use AdWords to compete against larger firms? So for example, Jeff mentioned real estate. As an independent realtor, should he really try to advertise against whole firms? Large nationwide companies like Coldwell Banker? Should he really try and advertise against Coldwell Banker using AdWords? Well, yes and no. No, using their keywords. Their keywords might be real estate, homes for sale in California. Right. They're probably too expensive. Bay Area real estate. They're using keywords that will bring in lots and lots of searches because they can afford it. They can afford lots of clicks, and so they have broadly targeted keywords. What Jeff would want to do is focus on something narrower, such as homes for sale in Millbrae.
Already happened. But I have a company that I pay so much a month to maintain these different phrases.
Right. See, so narrowly targeted, longer keyword phrases, what are sometimes called long tail keywords, these are keyword phrases. They're not single words. They're oftentimes not even 2 words. They're phrases, such as dog trainer in Millbrae. See, or the best pizza in San Bruno.
What do you call those? Long tail?
Long tail keywords. You're not going to get a lot of hits on that. There aren't going to be that many people searching on the best pizza in San Bruno, but there probably are searches for that. And if you're a pizzeria in San Bruno, well, that's what you want. Not a lot of competition, not a lot of searches, but when someone's looking for it, your ad's right there.
So is that similar to when you're typing into your Google box and you start typing and all of a sudden Google is suggesting phrases? Your phrase could get picked up in that.
Right, right. So when you're typing into the Google search box, Google may be suggesting to you what they think you're looking for. Like if you type in Justin, they might even say Bieber, because they know that so many people search for Justin Bieber that they figure you're probably searching for him too. And then you say, no, I'm not searching for Justin Bieber. I'm searching for Justin Pedroza or Justin Ramos or whatever. And then they say, oh, okay, all right, well then we'll look for that. But they will make suggestions to you. And you can get ideas by doing that, right? So this is how small businesses compete against big businesses, is by using longer phrases, long tail keywords, narrowly targeted, geographically specific phrases. That's how you compete, because generally the larger players don't compete at that narrow a level. They might, but they oftentimes don't. They usually compete with broad keywords, broad match. Okay, let's say you have a new website. So Speak Well and Sell, my new website, I just launched it 6 months ago. Right now I'm getting, I think, about 200 hits a month on that website through organic search. People are using the search engine to look for things like public speaking coach or online marketing, whatever, and they might find my website. So I'm getting about 200 hits a month. I want more than that. No, I want more hits than that. So then my best way to get more hits faster to my website is with AdWords. This is how new websites get traffic, is using AdWords, because it takes you a while for your website to start becoming relevant with the search engines. See, search engine optimization is all about making your website found. And search engine optimization works great when you have an older website. But when you have a brand new website, search engine optimization is harder because you don't have history. You don't have relevance. You often don't have depth. If you come out bang with a 100-page website, 80 pages of blogs, well, your website has a lot of relevance potentially right away. But not that many people launch 100-page websites. They often launch 5-page websites, 7-page websites, 9-page websites. These are small websites. When you launch a small website, if you're launching it on a domain that you've owned for many years, that's different. So don't be confused here. SpeakWellAndSell.com, brand new domain, has no history with Google. But my older URL, buildandbalance.com, now that URL has now been in play for almost 5 years. So Google knows that URL, and they know that it has some relevance for people searching for certain things, such as sales coaching or business coach San Mateo. They know that buildandbalance.com is a relevant website for that. They don't really know that much about Speak Well and Sell yet. So that's why I might use AdWords to advertise it, because I want people to find it faster. Does that make sense? Because if you have a website that is not appearing on page 1 or 2, or you have a website that's relatively new, AdWords would be an ideal scenario for you to get more traffic to your website. Potentially, right? I'm not saying that it's a slam dunk just because you meet those 2 criteria, but it makes sense for you to be thinking about it. All right, after that, display ads can scour the web, and display ads can follow users around the web. What I mean by that is, when I showed you that ad on the New York Times website for Bonobos, well, if I visit the Bonobos website and I look at their pants, but I don't buy anything, I spend a little bit of time there, I look at some pants and I decide, okay, yeah, that looks interesting. I don't think I'm actually going to buy any pants today. Well, coincidentally, the next day I visit the New York Times website and there's an ad for Bonobos. Is that a coincidence? No, that's not a coincidence. That's called remarketing. That's called remarketing. When you visit a website and that website figures out who you are based on the IP address of your computer, and then they start buying ads that follow you around the internet. So if you've ever wondered why you keep seeing the same ads on different websites around the internet, like if you visit Carnival Cruise Line's website thinking about taking a Carnival cruise, and then you start seeing more and more ads for Carnival cruises all over the internet, that's remarketing. Carnival's following you around the internet. So that's what I mean by display ads follow you around. Remarketing is somewhat complex on how to do it, and you have to have a certain number of visitors to your website to use it. You can't just start using remarketing right out of the gate with a brand new website. You have to have a certain amount of traffic first. You should have a good ad budget, because you're now going to be buying ads all over. And display ads take more to create because you need to have a nice graphic in the display ad. right? You don't want to just have text in a display ad. You need to have a nice visual. Remember the Bonobos ad had a man with their pants. So you have to have a nice visual for display ads. Text ads are easy because we can start a text ad tonight without a graphic designer, without understanding remarketing, without having a lot of traffic to our website. We could start using AdWords tonight. So that's why I have this seminar focused primarily on AdWords. So how does it work? Well, this is how it works in short. You create a text-based ad. You decide who are you targeting. Who are you targeting? Based on keywords. You decide keywords are going to identify who you're targeting. So for example, if you are selling painting, house painting in Millbrae, you might say, my keyword is residential house painter in Millbrae. House painter in Millbrae. Millbrae house painter. Painters in Millbrae. You decide on a variety of keyword phrases that match your target. I'm looking for somebody who's looking for a painter in Millbrae. So I'm going to come up with all the different iterations that they might search for. But you wouldn't stop there. You would actually use what's called Google's Keyword Research Tool. Google's Keyword Research Tool can be found for free by doing a Google search. Just put in Google's Keyword Research Tool in the Google search box, and they'll take you right to it. It's a free tool that will help you to find keywords, because you're not going to be able to think of them all. You will think of a list, but Google will think of a whole nother list for you. Because they will help you by explaining what are other keywords related to Millbrae house painter, and they'll even tell you this one is not that competitive. This one's really competitive. What that means is if it's really competitive, you're going to have to pay more. And your ad might not appear on page 1. Ads also appear on page 2, page 3 too, you know. They don't just sell 10 ads, they sell 100 ads.
So Michael, so when you use the keyword research tool, then when you go to that, then you could put in your industry, real estate, and then or could you say real estate, put city in there, and it'll give you other reiterations of that?
That's right.
Homes in Millbrae, estates in Millbrae, Millbrae real estate, blah, 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 there's a whole list.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're not racking your brain trying to figure these all out yourself.
It's true that they're helping you because they want you to be successful. They figure if they supply you with good keywords, then you're more likely to actually use AdWords. So that's why that tool is free. Right.
Can you put your competitor's name in there? Can you do that?
You could. I'm not sure what you'll find by putting your competitor's name in there. You won't necessarily find what their keywords are for their AdWords strategy, if that's what you're thinking. You're just going to find variations on their name. But you can use your competitor as one of your keywords if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's what he was asking. If you can
Well,
use your competitor as a keyword
Yeah.
to find you.
Right. You could select your competitor. I've done that a lot. I've put in there's a task management tool I use called Action Method. So I put Action Method into Google, and then I found a competitor that came up. So they're obviously using Action Method as one of their keywords. Yeah, and that's legal. You know, it's legal to use competitive keywords. But you also want to think of negative keywords too. Negative keywords, for example, let's say I have that Fender guitar store, and I also have guitar lessons, but I don't offer free guitar lessons, and I don't offer online guitar lessons, and I don't offer lessons in your home. You have to come to my studio. So now I have negative keywords for free guitar lessons, online guitar lessons in my home. What I mean by a negative keyword is if someone goes to Google and types in online guitar lessons, my ad won't show. Because I don't want to pay for clicks from people who aren't looking for what I sell. Right? That's an easy way to waste a lot of money getting clicks from people who aren't looking for what I sell. They're looking for free guitar lessons. They click on my ad and see, oh, you have to pay for your lessons, and they leave your website right away. So that hurts me two ways, right? One, I just paid money for that person to click on my ad, and two, now Google thinks my website sucks, right? So I got dinged twice. I don't want a lot of people coming to my website and leaving right away. So I want negative keywords to make sure the people that come to my website were looking for what I have to offer.
Well, and also you could be attracting that customer you don't want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You are attacking.
I mean, I want somebody who only wants to buy short sales and foreclosures.
Well, exactly.
I don't want that.
So you put short sales and foreclosures as negative keywords. Because you don't want, when they put in short sales, you don't want your ad to show up and then have them click on it.
So you have to, is that something you have to buy, a negative keyword?
It's not that you're buying it, it's that you're adding it into your campaign. So Google will not present your ad when someone searches for that. Does that make sense?
When you say campaign, you mean our copy?
No, behind your copy are keywords. Those keywords are what Google uses to determine when to show your ad. So when someone searches for the keyword, your ad is presented. So if I'm the Fender guitar store and someone searches for Fender guitars, I've put in Fender guitars as a keyword, now my ad shows. But if they're looking for used Fender guitars and I put used as a negative keyword, my ad won't show. Because Google says used, not going to show your ad because that's one of your negative keywords. It's a negative match, right? It's not a match, it's a negative match.
So it's not then impacting your relevance.
It's not impacting your relevance or your budget.
So your ad will be higher for those keywords that you identified that you're targeting for your target market.
Hopefully. Hopefully. That's the idea. That is the idea. Okay? So you choose your keywords. You decide how much to bid. Google will suggest a bid range to you. You decide if you want to follow that or not. Because remember, it's an auction. So they're going to say, we think you should bid $2 for this keyword. Well, you can choose to bid $1. You can say, no, I'm only bidding $1. And you'll find out how well that works. Because once you start running, Google will tell you, is your ad being clicked on? They might tell you, you've got to raise your bid up to $2. This keyword isn't working for you. Because there are other people competing with you who are paying $2. So we're not showing your ad. There are people searching, but we're not showing your ad because you need to raise your bid. Google will tell you these things. As you start running your campaign, Google will tell you, you should raise your daily budget. You should add these keywords. You should raise the price on these keywords. They will give you ongoing information through your portal, right? When you log into your AdWords account, they will give you information to help you to adjust your campaign to make it more effective.
Are you suspicious at all of Google and your motives for setting the price?
So the question is it suspicious that Google sets the price? They're the ones making the money and they're telling you how much to spend. It's a fair question. It's a legitimate question. What we have to believe is, as a publicly traded company, which runs their business on AdWords, that if it was found that they were actually manipulating the auction model and fraudulently creating an auction just for the sake of making more money, then their business could potentially fall apart. So it's up to you to decide if they're running their company ethically or not. There's no proof that they're not, and so you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are running it purely as an auction. Just like eBay, when you're looking to buy something on eBay and it's an auction, you have to decide if those people that are bidding against you are real bidders or are they fake bidders that eBay has put up there. Is the whole thing a fraud? You have to decide. But I believe that you don't need to be suspicious of Google's auction model, that their whole franchise depends on it. 97% of Google's business depends on AdWords working. So I think you can trust that it's probably legitimate, and what they recommend to you is legitimate based on the data that they have. But know that it changes all the time. It's always changing. So you need to log in and look on a regular basis. Okay, so once you decide how much to bid, you decide where to run it and how often to run it. You could run it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You can run it in Millbrae and San Bruno, in Millbrae, San Bruno, and San Mateo, in the whole Bay Area, in the whole state, in the whole country, in the whole world. You decide. You decide where you want your ads to run and how often and how much you're going to spend. You can decide. $5 a day, $10 a day, $20 a day. Google will make recommendations to you.
You set a budget.
You set the budget. And once that budget is hit, your ad won't show anymore. Because they don't want to spend any more money than you've said you want to spend. So if you say $10 a day, and your ad starts running at midnight, and by 1 a.m., you've already spent your $10, well, for the rest of that day, your ad won't show. And the next day at midnight, they'll start running your ad again. And if by 1 a.m. you've got the 10 bucks, and this might be a problem because what if your store doesn't open till 10 a.m. and you're getting all your clicks at midnight? Well, that might be a problem. And you think, I'm not getting any calls, I'm not getting any visitors into my store. What's going on here? That's why they allow you to set the hours. Maybe you only want your ad to run between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. when your store is actually open, because you actually want to try and drive people into the store. So again, that's totally up to you. You decide when you want your ad to run.
Do you know anything about like you're talking about hours, peak hours for advertising, or does it depend on the business? I mean, there are certain hours people are on social media more, like in the evening, during the week, they're on social media more than during the day.
Well, you have to decide. You have to decide for yourself and your business what you think are the best hours for your ads to run, and you would experiment. You would try it during certain phases of the day and see if you're getting click-throughs and leads. If that doesn't seem to be working, you could try a different daytime part. You could try weekends where before you didn't. So it's up to you to experiment and decide. There is no specific guide on what one business should choose versus another. There is no definitive model on when to run your ads.
There are no statistics.
Is there research on that at all for industries? I mean, it's amazing to me.
Well, there might be specific research. I mean, you could take a look and you could see. But Google itself isn't going to tell you, we think you should run your ads now. They don't have that suggestion. So Google's data is not going to suggest that to you. But within your industry, there may be specific recommendations. You'd have to look. Okay? So after you start running your ads, then you should evaluate and adjust based on the information that you're getting. Because as you log into your Google Ads portal, you're going to get information about which ads are showing, who's clicking, what's happening once they click, because you can track through Google Analytics to see, okay, they went to my website. When they got to my website, they were on this page, then they went to this page. There's a lot of data that you can collect to try and figure out if your ads are working. And of course, is your phone ringing? Are you getting calls? Are you getting people into your business? And you can ask them, how did you find us? And they say Google. Well, you might not know if it came through Google's organic search engine or if it came through Google's ads. But if you know that, well, my website normally appears on page 3, and suddenly I've started getting more business since starting AdWords, you probably have a pretty good sense that it's because of AdWords, not because your website suddenly went from page 3 to page 1.
So you don't actually know it's from your AdWords. You're doing other kinds of marketing. You're doing all this other stuff. You don't get a tracer back to know it came from AdWords. What you're saying?
Not necessarily. You could have a separate phone number, and that phone number can be tracked. In your ad, you could have a phone number, and every time someone calls that phone number, you'll know it came from the Google ad. You'll know if people come to your website through your analytics, it'll tell you they came from the ad. They clicked through the ad. Oh yeah, you can see that. But if you don't have a custom phone number, if you're not tracking what happens after people click on your ad, you might not know, but you'll know if your business is picking up. Right? You're going to know if your business is picking up, if you're getting more calls, you're getting more traffic into the store. You'll know. So what are some best practices? So these are best practices that you can follow when you decide to give AdWords a try. So these are all things that you should consider. And if you would like to have this presentation emailed to you afterwards, then if you've brought a business card with you, give me your business card after the presentation, and I'll make sure that I email the presentation to you. If you didn't bring a business card, ask for mine, and then you can email me later, and I'll email you the presentation. I'm more than happy to give it to you. Ed?
We also have Millbrae TV here today that's taping this, so it will be rebroadcast, and we'll have information on that.
Right,
well.
so if you think, man, Steve should have come to this presentation. I told Steve to come, he didn't make it. Well, tell Steve to watch the rebroadcast on Millbrae TV. You'll have to talk to the chamber about how to access that program, how to watch it. But they're going to provide me with the video, and I'm going to put the video on my YouTube channel. So you'll be able to watch it there too if you like. So there'll be many ways to see the presentation, get the presentation. So don't worry about that. All right, so these are best practices to follow. Okay, what are you selling? What exactly are you selling? You should be really, really clear about what exactly you're selling, because that's super important with AdWords. I'm not just selling guitars, I'm selling Fender guitars. And I'm not just selling Fender guitars, I'm selling the Stratocaster. I'm selling a specific model. The more specific I am with my ad, the more likely I am to get exactly who I want. And I'm more likely to get a buyer. Because when a person is searching for a Fender Stratocaster, well, they're really interested in that specific model. And if I'm really selling that specific model, I'm more likely to get the right person to my website. Now, when they come to my website, I want to have a page that says, are you looking for information on the Fender Stratocaster? Well, as a matter of fact, I am. That's the search term that I put into Google. I clicked on your ad that said Fender Stratocaster, and now I'm on your website, and it says Fender Stratocaster. This looks like what I'm looking for. So if you're a shoe store, don't just advertise shoes. Don't just advertise women's shoes. Why don't you advertise a specific type of women's shoes? If you're a mattress store, why don't you actually advertise a specific model of Tempur-Pedic, not just Tempur-Pedic? Maybe the grand luxury Tempur-Pedic. Maybe there are people that are searching for the $15,000 Tempur-Pedic. And when they're searching for it, we want them to know that we have it. See, that would be a long tail keyword that probably wouldn't be that competitive, and you wouldn't get a lot of hits. But when you did, that person is looking for that bed, and then they might want to come to your store. So know exactly what you're selling and think about it. Think about what we want to put in the ad and where they're landing on our website. That's called the landing page. When they click through the ad, Google takes them to your website and they land on a page on your website. That's called the landing page, and that's a very important page. That's where they decide within 7 seconds, is this relevant or not? Within 7 seconds, they'll size up your page and decide if they're going to stay there longer or leave.
So if you're running different types of ads, or using different types of phrases in your ads, then obviously many of those are going to be going to different pages within your website, depending upon what ad, who you're targeting from that particular ad.
Yes, right. So if you are a realtor in Millbrae, in San Bruno, in Burlingame, and you're advertising to all those different buyers, when someone clicks on Millbrae, it better not take them to the Burlingame page, right? So this seems so obvious, and yet many, many people who use AdWords send people to their homepage or their website. They just figure, well, isn't that the best place, the homepage? This is where most people come to our website, the homepage. When they do an organic search and they find your website, they come to your homepage, and you say, well, when I look at analytics, 70% of the traffic on my website comes through my homepage, so isn't that the best place? Well, not necessarily. Because if you're a guitar store, your homepage might not even talk about the fact that you have the Stratocaster. And that's exactly what they're looking for. So then they come to your homepage and they go, well, it is a guitar store, but I don't know where the Stratocaster is, so I'm just going to go back. I'm going to go back to the search results and click on something else. Whereas if they click and they go to the Stratocaster page and they see that specifically, that helps. So Amazon, what Amazon will do is they'll have AdWords for specific products. They have specific products that sell by the boatload on their website. They have AdWords advertising that specific product, takes them right to that page. Amazon has 1 million pages on their website, but they advertise specific pages. Zappos does it too with shoes. They advertise specific types of shoes. Because they sell lots and lots of these types of shoes, so why not advertise it? Why not send people right to that page? So this is what I mean by you have to be really careful about where you take them. Once you create an ad around something specific, that's called an ad group. It's called an ad group. So if my campaign is guitars, and I decide that I want to sell this guitar, this guitar, and this guitar, each one of those is an ad group. So I have an ad group for the Stratocaster guitar, I have an ad group for the classical guitar, I have an ad group for a bass guitar. Each one has a different ad and different keywords. Those are each ad groups as part of a campaign. The campaign is, let's sell more guitars. But each ad group is selling a specific type of guitar. And each ad group has its own keywords.
Can we just go back to what we were talking about a second ago? If you want the person that's searching to go to a specific page on your website that they need to look at, how do you direct them to that specific page on your website? How does that
Oh,
happen?
okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. That to me, that's such an obvious question, but I haven't explained that. So thank you for asking. So when you build the ad, you have to write the headline and then 2 lines of copy, and then provide a URL. You provide the URL to Google that determines where they'll go when they click on the ad. So you say, okay, this is our page that has information on that super luxury Tempur-Pedic bed, and we're building an ad around that. We have keywords around that, and now we're putting in the URL that will take them right to that.
Mike, do you suggest actually building, if you're doing these ads, and they can hit actually go back to your main page, or just keep them right there and let them go from there and scroll around your website after they look at Tempur-Pedic, let's say, as an example?
Well, after they look at that, I think you should have navigation that can take them to other places on your website. I'm not really a fan of no links to anywhere else on your website after that. They call that a squeeze page. A squeeze page is where they can only take one action. They come to that page, they can only take one action, which is to buy that bed or leave. And I don't believe you should do that. I think you should have links to other pages on your website. Okay? So you're going to create 2 ads for each ad group. The reason you're creating 2 ads is because Google will run them both, and Google will tell you which ad is performing better. And they'll continue to present the one that performs better. So they'll do the testing for you. You do your job of creating 2 ads, and they'll do the testing for you and continue to play the one that does better. Once you see that you have a clear winner, try to beat that ad. You try to beat that ad. This ad is now your control. This comes from direct marketing. In direct marketing, you always have a control which you're always trying to beat. This is our best ad, and we're always trying to beat this best ad. And Google will do the testing for you so that you can continue to refine your ad until you find one that works really well. And that's the ultimate goal, is to have an ad that just becomes a money machine for you. People search regularly, your ad comes up, they go to the landing page, they take the action you want, cha-ching. That's what you're really looking for, the ads that work over and over. And once you find them, you just keep running them and keep supporting them because they're making you much more money than they're costing you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was kind of going a little up. So you have a campaign,
Right,
and in a campaign you have an ad group.
right,
And of the ad group, you created 2 ads to
Right.
run that compete against one another.
correct.
And you figure out which one is the best.
They'll determine it for you. They'll tell you which one's the best.
Using the analytics.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then you have keywords that support those 2 ads.
But now a campaign though can have more than one ad group.
Correct. Right. You could have multiple ad groups within one campaign. Okay? The campaign is your website. The campaign is trying to drive traffic to your website. Okay? All right. Have 15 to 20 keywords per ad group if it makes sense. If it's so narrowly targeted that you don't have 15 to 20 keywords, that's fine, as long as they're the right keywords that send people to the ad. You might only have 5 to 10, and that's okay.
So when you design an ad, like you're saying, put the headline, 2 lines of copy, the URL, do you also, where do the keywords come in? Do you?
Well, as you're building it, you'll see. You'll see that they'll tell you what are your keywords, and then you just add them in there. Yeah, they'll ask you for your keywords.
But you have to bid on those keywords.
That's right. That's right. They'll tell you after you enter your keywords, then they're going to tell you what they suggest you bid for each keyword. Okay, and then I already told you about Google's keyword research tool, and I told you about the landing page. Okay, so this is the first set of best practices. Here's some more best practices. Don't ever make the mistake of running a text ad as a display ad. When you set up AdWords, Google is going to ask you, is this for the search network, the display network, or both? If you created a text ad, don't choose both. Just choose the search network. Because if you choose the display network, they will actually take your text ad and put it into that big box. And that's going to look like crap. Right? I mean, that is not going to be a good ad. And you're not going to get good clicks and good performance from that. And that's a problem for you. You don't want to have a really poorly performing ad, because if Google looks at your ad and says, your ads stink, we're going to charge you more for your ads, and we're not going to show your ads as much as you would like because your ads stink. You don't want stinky ads. You want ads that work. Because when your ads work, not only do you make more money, but you pay less. That's the really, that's like the light bulb turning on, like, wait, we pay less and we get higher performance? That's the beauty of AdWords. What magazine will do that for you? What newspaper will do that for you? What television station will do that for you? We like your ads so much, we decide to charge you less. Nobody that sells media does that, but Google does.
I have a question to you. Okay, like for for Google AdWords, like for somebody can provide phone, when I asked him, say, how much cost it like for the air conditioning there, And he said $22 per click. And I called Rich Local, he says $14, $8 per click. How is it it's like more expensive by the Rich Local?
Once you set up your Google Ad Network, so his question is, I'm getting all kinds of information about how much it's going to cost to advertise air conditioning repair and specific keywords. How do I know what's true? Well, you'll know what's true when you actually build your ad campaign and you put those keywords in there, and then Google's going to suggest a bid range to you. And then once you actually start running your campaign, you'll see exactly how much you're paying per click. And that's how you'll really know, because you're gonna pay a certain price. It's called cost per click. And that's when you'll really know. Because until then, it's all speculation and estimation. And it changes over time. So what you paid last year might be different this year versus next year, as competition rises and falls.
What is the average small business spend a month on AdWords?
The question is, what does the average small business spend a month on AdWords? There's no answer to that. There really is no definitive answer that would be good for you to leave with. That it would be unfair of me to say, oh, $746. It wouldn't be right. What I can tell you is that if you don't have enough money, it won't work for you. And you're going to say, well, what's that? You'll know. You'll know because Google keeps telling you, you've got to raise your bids. You've got to raise your daily budget. They'll tell you when you're putting too little money into it. So what it says here, don't create too small a budget, that might prompt that question. You'll know because Google will tell you when your budget is too small for what you're advertising. Does that make sense? Because it really is dynamic. It changes all the time. And there's competition that's fierce for some keywords and not so fierce for other keywords. You might just spend $1 a day advertising some long tail keywords, and every once in a while you get a hit. It's like betting on the dark horse at the races. I'm betting on the nag because every once in a while the nag comes in, right? So you can decide to play AdWords however you want. You can go against the first place finishers or not.
Like, the gentleman I work for, says, well, my competitor's hitting that actually. Is there security built into that? Like, he,
Go ahead. Well,
he said, or bots, I don't want to do this because bots are going to
Well, the question is about click fraud. How do we know that the clicks on our ad are not our competitors clicking on our ad? Well,
Running up our bill.
yeah, running up our bill. Google measures IP addresses clicking on an ad. So at some point, it could trigger a mechanism within Google's network that says, hey, there's something going on with this ad. There's too many clicks on it happening from this IP. And so then you would be flagged and you would probably have a conversation with them. But that doesn't seem to be a big problem, honestly. There are not lots of press reports and lots of small businesses suing Google because they believe they're subject to click fraud and they're spending thousands of dollars. Unlike Yelp, where a lot of people have sued Yelp because they believe that Yelp has problems with verifying reviews, showing illegitimate reviews, overcharging. There are lots of issues with Yelp, but there are not lots and lots of negative stories around Google AdWords, which I think suggests that it's legitimate and authentic and verified, not to the dollar. They're not going to know if your competitor clicks on it 1 or 2 times or even 10 times. They're not going to know. But if it's systematic, they'll know. Ed?
I just guess to address that, I used to buy Google AdWords, and we had that concern. I worked for a test prep company, and it was, if our competitors are not out there marketing or doing a Google AdWords campaign and they're spending their time clicking on our ads to kill our budget, then they're not going to be in business very long, if you think about it.
Right. If that's the best thing they can do is try and take you down. Yeah. Jeff?
So a couple other questions. So you're saying when you run text ads, do not have it as a display ad. And what do you choose?
You choose search network only.
Search network only?
Right.
And if you already have a Google account, it's different. You still have to go to Google and set up an AdWords.
Correct.
account.
You go to google.com/AdWords to set it up.
Google /AdWords. And I'll just mention the other thing too, the problem I've run into with Yelp is I had a bunch of people put reviews on my Yelp account, and within a week, I would say 80% of them got hidden. You know, they weren't
Filtered.
taken off, but they were filtered out. And of course, they still call me trying to get me to advertise in my programs with them. And they won't come out in a minute, but basically what I found is that if the reviews that are put on there are not done by people who use Yelp all the time, they will disappear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to get into a conversation about the Yelp filter because we could be here for a long time about that. But I find that to be true, Jeff. Did you have a question?
I'm a reviewer, and businesses have motivation to make their business look good. And so if people like have a bad experience and write about it, the businesses will fight back, even if it's true that a customer had a bad experience. And so in a way, Yelp is unfair to help because it's advertisement, it's not necessarily true, and then you read it and you think it's true, but it's not. You have to make your best judgment and using Yelp.
The more reviews there are, generally the truer the consensus becomes. And so there's a critical mass that usually comes out as the truth. Okay, so more best practices here, right? Connect your AdWords account with Google Analytics to make sure that you're actually tracking and seeing what's happening. You're getting good information there. Look at your data at least every week. That some people will start an AdWords campaign and then they forget about it and they're busy. You know, as small business owners, we're busy. We know that we're always busy. We're running different things. And we forget, oh yeah, what's happening with that AdWords thing? How long has it been? Oh, I set it up last month. Oh, we better go in and look at that. You know, well, you should look at least once a week. Put a reminder on your calendar. You know, just say it's AdWords day. Check it out today at 3 o'clock. You know, just put a reminder. And what is that data telling you? Think about it. What is it saying? What ad is doing better? And when they go to your website, how long are they there? Are we running our ads at the right time? Are we actually getting calls? Are there new keywords we should put in? Oh, we just discovered some negative keywords we should add in. You should be really thinking deeply about whether this is working for you because it is real money that you're spending every day. And so if you don't spend that time in afterthought and contemplation, then it's hard to optimize your campaign because it needs refining. It's a trial and error situation. So if you don't try and learn from what's happening, then you're not going to get better and improve it over time.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So when you claim your Google Plus page, right, does that bring people searching for like what you do or your company's name, does that bring you further pages than where your company would actually fall because of alphabetical order?
So this is a question about Google Plus, which is a little different. It's a little different than the topic that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, I just thought about it because when you were talking about how far your website plans on how many pages back, but by claiming your Google Plus page, does that bring you back to the front?
It's not going to pull you to the front just because you claimed your Google Plus page. It would be wonderful if it happened like that. There wouldn't be enough room on page one for all of us to be there, right? So it might incrementally help you because Google owns it and they want you to use it. So there's probably a little bump, but it wouldn't be a bump from page 7 to page 1. It might be a bump from bottom of page 7 to top of page 7. You know, like, it's like an incremental move. It's not going to be like this big leap, you know, just from that. Just like putting videos on YouTube. Google owns YouTube, and that's going to help you too. But you know, will it put you on page 1? Maybe. Maybe it will, but not necessarily. It's a lot of things done together that generally affect you in a big way, not one small move. Okay? All right. So the last best practice, work with an expert. Right? You might work with somebody who knows more about it than you to make sure that you don't make all the mistakes that you could possibly make and spend more money than you should spend. Right? That's possible. So that's why I recommend that you might consider working with Google Engage. So this is the part where I explain to you how you could work directly with Google by going through me. So Google Engage is a partner program where Google says, we'd like to find a lot of little marketing firms that we can partner with to go out in our communities and do presentations, teach people about AdWords, and bring them into the Google AdWords community by helping them with education, with best practices, with guidance, with some accountability to actually check to see what's going on. So that's why they created this program, and I decided to join it last year. They just started it last year. I decided to join it. I went to San Francisco, got a whole day of training. I flew down to LA on my own dime to get another day of training so that I could spend a couple of days actually studying this stuff. So yeah, I'll explain in just a second. So they didn't give me this presentation, I built it. You know, they didn't say, here's what to say. I learned what to say to you because I went through the training. So just know that they're not giving me everything and I don't know nothing. I know something because I've gone through some training. So everything that I've shared with you today is what I've learned from training and by working with real clients. So what they do is, with this partnership, they will build a campaign for you and then help you get it off the ground. They'll launch it after you approve it. So once you say, I like this campaign, what's been built for me, I want to run it, then you activate it, not Google. So Google's not going to spend your money for you until you say, I like this campaign. If you don't like it, well, don't run it then. You know, that's totally up to you. But chances are you'll like it better than what you could build for yourself, because they know all the tips and tricks on how to make the best ads and set up the keywords and so forth. So chances are they'll build a better campaign for you than you would build for yourself. I think that's fair to say. So what happens is they build it for you, you run it, and then for up to 30 days, they will monitor it and give you advice on changes or refinements that you might make. So the question is this only for new advertisers? No, it's not. So let's say you've been using AdWords for years. As long as you stop using AdWords for 45 days, you have to stop for 45 days, then set up a new Google account. I know it sounds kind of silly because the Google accounts are free, but you have to set up a brand new Google account and then set up an AdWords account with that new Google account and then advertise that website that you've already owned for 10 years. So you don't have to build a new website. You just have to set up a new Google account and stop advertising that website for 45 days. Then you can use this program. So it's good for new and old advertisers. So that's what I like about it, is that people that have been advertising for years but stopped because they felt, you know, I don't know if this is really working. You know, now they can come back and get a little help.
So basically what they're doing is purging everything that happened, and then you're going to start from scratch.
Exactly.
A professional who's like you, and you're able to gauge what's happening instead of saying, I don't know, you put some salt in soup yesterday, it tastes salty, but you didn't know I put, or whatever it is, right?
That's exactly right. That's not going to be lumped onto your old data because it's a brand new Google account. So this is new data, new campaign, everything's fresh. Yeah, everything is fresh and starts from scratch.
Just to clarify, do you as the Google Engage partner, are you the one creating and working? If we were to ask, contract with you,
right,
as the Google Engage.
Let me show you the next slide. I think this is going to answer your question. Like, how does this work? Okay, so this is how it works. So we meet, right? We meet in my office, your office, whatever, to discuss your goals. And then we talk about whether AdWords might be right for you. Just because you came to this presentation doesn't mean AdWords is going to be right for you. We might meet and figure out that, no, I don't think so, not for your business. And so then we just shake hands and say, okay, that's fine. No charge. No charge for us to meet to discuss that. If it is right, we talk to Google. And then Google builds a campaign. We send Google the link to your website. We let them check it out. We tell them what you want to advertise. And then they build a campaign. It takes 3 to 5 business days for them to build a campaign. I just did this with a client last week. She built a brand new website. And we met with them on, I think it was Thursday. And they sent us the campaign today. So it took them exactly 5 business days, just what they said. And now we have questions. And so we're going back to Google and saying, well, why'd you do it like this? Or what about this? So we have questions that they'll now answer for us. And then once we're comfortable, then we'll start running the campaign. The 30-day period doesn't start until the campaign starts, until you actually start paying. So it doesn't start after that first phone call. It doesn't include the 5 days of building. It's from when it actually starts. So after it starts, then you're going to run it for that 30 days, and we'll have a couple of evaluations. And then after that, it's up to you what happens. So here's how it's going to cost, right? What it would actually cost to work with me. So you get 2.5 appointments with me. The first appointment is the half appointment where we would spend about a half an hour to just talk it over and see, is this right for you? After that, if you decide, yeah, I want to try this, then the meter starts running. I start you off with $100 free. So I give you a coupon where your first $100 of AdWords doesn't cost you anything. Right? It might be you have to spend 25 and you get 100, something like that. But you're going to get a $100 credit towards your AdWords. We get one conference call with Google if you want it. If you want to have the Google person on the phone, great, we'll do it together. If you don't, I'll talk to them, tell them what your goals are, and set them running to build your campaign. And so I'll be your contact if you want, or we'll talk to them together. Totally up to you. Okay? You'll pay me $200. That's not your ad budget. That's paying me for my help for the 2.5 appointments. Okay? So that means that you meet with me 2 times, probably about an hour each time, and you pay me $200 for that. I give you $100 toward your Google ads. So it's kind of like paying me $100, which is a bargain. I'm telling you, it's a bargain. Because I want to help you. I want to help you, and I want to get people started on using this AdWords. Okay? Your ad budget, totally separate. Google's going to make a recommendation to you. They're going to say, you should spend $20 a day. That's our recommendation. And you're going to say, I don't have $600. And then they're going to say, well, then why don't you just run it 3 days a week? What do you have? We have $200. Well, then why don't you just run it 10 days a month? Or, they're going to help you to figure out what you should do if you can't follow their recommendation. Because you could still use AdWords, but maybe not to the degree that you think. $20 a day times 30, that's $600. You might not have it.
So Mike, is your experience that they usually initially recommend a pretty high amount, figuring that the customer sells something between what they recommended and what your budget is?
Well, this is kind of getting back to the question that she had asked earlier, and that they're not trying to get you to spend any more money than your ad clicks would actually have you spend. Remember, they don't manipulate how often your ad gets clicked. The reason they're recommending it to you is because they're saying, do you want maximum clicks? Most people that advertise, they want to get all the clicks that they possibly can. If you don't, then you're going to set a lower budget, and then your ad will turn off. So it's up to you. Do you want maximum clicks? And what this happens too sometimes, Jeff. I have one client who the ads seem to be working. He believes they're working. He just got his biggest client ever, and he thinks it came from his ads. The reason that that's working for him is because they built the campaign that is working. So now he wants to spend more money. He's saying, I want to spend more money on my campaign. So I talked to Google and I said, should he spend more money? And they said, on some days, he should spend more money. On other days, he won't spend a dime more because there aren't enough clicks to support it. So even though he wants to spend more, on some days he won't be able to because there aren't enough clicks. But other days he will. Ed?
So for a new business with a new website, should you go a little higher than the recommended budget until your organic builds and the Google bots can start driving traffic to your website so you have some presence?
Well, it's kind of a theoretical question. I mean, you should, based on their recommendation, spend as close to their recommendation as possible if you want as many clicks as possible. If you decide that you don't want as many clicks as possible because you can't afford it, or you really just kind of want to try it, and you're willing to spend whatever your budget is, then you follow that recommendation to the degree that you're comfortable. So it's a theoretical question that, well, I think everybody who wants to try it and can afford it should go for maximum clicks. As long as it's built right, because we want the right clicks. That's why we put in the negative keywords. That's why we have a good landing page. That's why we have good ads with the right key. We do everything right so that the clicks we do get are good clicks. If they're good clicks, we should want to spend to get as many of them as possible because we should get a 2 to 3 time or 7 time or 10 time or 20 time return on our investment depending on what we're advertising, what our margins are, etc. Right? Does that make sense? Right? It kind of depends.
I don't know if you're privileged to get this information or if you even know, but do you have any estimate of the highest amount people might pay? Like you were talking about that one customer you got the best customer ever, and I'm wondering how much he was paying. Was he paying $10,000?
Oh, okay. So that customer does carpet cleaning and janitorial services. and he's spending, I think, around $15 a day. So that's around $450 a month. So it's not some astronomical figure, and it's not an astronomically large business. This is a small business. This is a small business.
And do you use for Google Engage? Do you have to help him use
Yes.
Google Engage?
Well, that's how I know. Yeah, because he works with me. That's right. That's how I know. Yeah.
But I don't understand, if he doesn't know where that customer came from, wouldn't he have that in his analytics, he knew it actually came from this campaign? I mean, you said he wasn't for sure it came from this campaign, he thought he did because he get more traffic.
We don't have a custom phone number. So he called his regular phone number.
Okay.
And he said, how did you find me? And the person said, Google. His website not ranking that high in Google. So that's why we believe it came from the ad and not an organic hit to his website.
So the
So-
analytics won't tell me it's coming from a Google AdWord then? I mean, if we're doing all kinds of massive advertising everywhere else, you know, it won't.
Well, remember, you asked me that question earlier.
Well, I mean,
and
I see that it does a dedicated phone number, a different phone number, I understand that, but I'm saying
Yeah.
the analytics, so it doesn't track back to that one ad.
the analytics doesn't identify a person by name. So analytics is going to tell you this number of hits came from your ad to your website, but it doesn't tell you that person then called you, right? Analytics can't tell you that. All it can tell you is you got this amount of traffic from the ads to your website. If you were selling something through your website, then you would know.
Well, I have a different client actually, I was thinking about him, that would actually register online for something, so I would be able to definitely.
Then you'll know for sure.
All right.
Exactly, because you can track. They came from the ad, they came to the website, they did this, then they gave you your email address, their email address, or then they bought this. You know, you'll know. But when it's a service like this where they called his number, he suspects it came from AdWords. He suspects. We don't know for sure, but he feels like it did.
Yeah, so if somebody's coming to your website, who your web master is, you've got some analytics on your website where you can track where that's coming from. So, but I think what Mike was saying, this person just called.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
there's no way for him to see where online, he just said, oh, this is cool, and call on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, he went to the website and did call the number. The number's not in the ad, so he did go to the website to get the number. And we built a custom landing page. So we tried to do everything we could to make sure that the ads would work. He feels they're working and wants to spend more money. You know. But it won't work for everybody. So here's the thing. You might try it, and you might try it for 30, 60, 90 days and decide, no, it's not really working for me. But you tried it, and you had the best advantage possible to try it. Right? That's the key, is that we did everything right, and for some reason it's still not working. Not sure why, but we did everything right to the best that we could, and you gave it a real good try.
That was going to be my comment, is in terms of time.
Yes.
A lot of people expect
Miraculous results.
immediately. And
Right.
so what have you seen as a good length of time that somebody should put into running the ad to see whether or not it does work?
This is generally a question around marketing itself. That if you're advertising in any new vehicle, you have to give it, I say, 3 months. I think after 3 months of data, you have enough data that you can evaluate some marketing expenditure. Whether it's newspaper, magazine, television, radio, anything, after 3 months, you should have a decent amount of data that you can decide this is working, this is not working.
I'd say that's a seasonal, or my business is seasonal, so 3 months really wouldn't be enough unless you're selling Snuggies or you know, a different product.
Mhm.
I would say a year, because depending on when people are buying Snuggies might be popular in wintertime. Summertime, nobody's thinking about Snuggies, so they're not really caring.
Yeah.
So to get a true picture of the analytics, I think you have to go the 4 seasons.
I think the longer you go, the more likely you are to actually find what works. Well, and you're probably more likely to hit upon what works, because if you give up too soon, then you didn't refine enough perhaps, and you really didn't learn enough perhaps. So that's why I say as a minimum. I'm not saying that that's your maximum, that's really a minimum, right? Yeah. You know. Okay, let's take a couple more questions, and then Andy, we can shut it off. Andy asked me how long I thought this would go. I said 45 minutes. It's 100 minutes so far. So, yeah, so I'm glad you're really interested in this topic. I think it's a really good topic, and it's one that there's not enough education around, right? We just don't offer enough of these. So, you know, we will continue to offer these on a regular basis, I think, because I think people are finding that this is valuable. Okay.
Yeah,
Let me answer that question in short, and then give you a little homework to do, okay? So in short, a good website to Google is one that has a privacy policy. They require that your website have a privacy policy. If it doesn't, they don't want to send ads to it. They don't want to send ad clicks to it. That's a requirement. 2, you should have a landing page. That if you don't have a landing page to send ads to, that's usually not a good website. So you could have an old website and still have a really good landing page and advertise one thing specifically to that landing page and do well. The janitorial guy, for example, he's just trying to get janitorial services clients. He's just trying to get that. He's not really advertising house cleaning, not really advertising carpet cleaning. He's really just advertising janitorial services. Okay? So he has a landing page for janitorial services. So that's the short answer. The long answer is, on my website on speakwellandsell.com, I have a 4-part series of blogs about what makes for a good website. It's 4 articles that you can read in a series, and it'll probably take you an hour, maybe an hour, to read the 4 articles and really think about it and compare that against your website. And then you'll know after you read those 4 articles if you have a modern website or an out-of-date website. Okay, Jeff?
Do you also, with the Engage, do you also do the display ads? Do you have somebody wants to actually do that? I do learn about that too as well, maybe?
I don't believe Engage works with the display ad network. I think it's just for search, because it's this program where they'll build for us, it's AdWords. It's not display. They won't build a display ad campaign for you because that involves graphic design, and then ideally it involves remarketing, and so they're not going to go that far with you.
So if I have, you were talking about the engagement, you can't use it if you are already a customer with Google AdWords without
Stopping for 45 days.
creating a new account. What if I have somebody else that's been grabbing phrases to me, I think they're using Google AdWords, but I don't have a Google AdWords account myself, and I'm paying somebody else so much per month to keep me on the search page with those phrases.
Well, but it's still promoting your domain. Doesn't matter that someone else's account, it's the website that it's promoting.
So I'm still going to have to
You'd still have to stop for 45 days.
stop advertising on Google.
On Google AdWords, yeah. If you want their help. But if what's working for you, Jeff, is working, don't do it. I mean, don't stop. You know, if you've got a good agency you're working with and you feel they're getting you good results, I'm not sure that it really makes sense to stop and wait to see if Google would build you something better.
They get me one deal a year.
It's worth it, yeah.
More than worth it.
Right, so if you found that it's worth it, you might know more now to then test them on what they're doing. And that might be the best value you get out of this, that your better understanding helps you to evaluate them better. But I don't know that they should stop. Yeah. Okay? All right, so let's wrap it up. If you have more questions, then take my business card. You can follow up with me. If you want to make an appointment, that's my email address. You can contact me or get my business card. Remember, if you want the presentation emailed to you, I need your business card, or you need to get mine and email me and ask for it. Okay? That's the way to get it to you. All right, thank you very much for coming.